Hey everyone, welcome to This Week in Marvel. I guess it's going to be the title of this series.
I came up with that title.
You did. 2 seconds before we started recording, I was like, good enough. I got nothing better. Although it's ironic that we're calling it This Week in Marvel when we didn't do an episode last week because there was audio problems. We recorded an episode, but it was just a bunch of garbled mess. As opposed to our regular garbled messes, but at least you can hear what we're saying. Normally we have a garbled mess because I keep repeating myself and I don't know when to shut up, like I'm doing now. Today we're going to actually talk about episode 2 and 3 of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And wow, you're talking about 2 episodes that had very different tones to them. It's this entire show, don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm saying that this show has a tone problem. No, not at all. This show is a world-traveling buddy cop film is what this is. But episode 2 dealt with some really heavy stuff. This episode was the Baron Zemo show. And man, Marvel, you just can't help but make your audiences like your villains. At least now, because Marvel always used to be known for having the worst villains. Marvel used to be known for no one cares about the villains. They're just here for the heroes. But wow, they have turned things around because Agatha was amazing in WandaVision. Now everyone is in love with Zemo. I have no idea who's going to be the big villain in Loki.
Besides Loki.
Yeah. How do you top Loki? Like, who is Loki going to have to stop? He's dealing with time, so I'd be shocked if Kang wasn't involved in there in some way.
Maybe he has to stop himself or something like that.
It's dealing with alternate dimensions as well. So yeah, that would be great if hey man, the only more charismatic villain than Loki is Loki. We're talking about other shows now. We need to focus on this thing. So real quickly, we'll just talk about episode 2. At the end of episode 1, I said, okay, they're trying to make messages, but I fear that they're not going to get as in-depth as they want to get. I fear, whenever it comes time for them to make a message in this show, there's going to be that wall. They're like, you can't go past this. We got hey, if you go past this, then we get too serious and we get too real, and we're going to scare everybody away, and Disney's going to be upset with that. We can't say anything like that. We can't do anything like that. And I had that fear at the end of episode 1. Episode 2 came in here and was like, no, we can actually make some statements. We can actually say some stuff. And don't get me wrong, they're still, using metaphors a lot for the things that's clear they want to say in here, but that's fine. As I've said, it is fine for you to do science fiction to try and make metaphors about things in the real world. However, it really felt like they wanted to say some things about the real world, and they were like, we gotta stick with this metaphor in here, we can't quite do that. I feel like episode 2 struck a really good balance in there. Mm-hmm. Episode 2 was the one that made me go, oh, okay. You guys actually are delving into some stuff, because I kept hearing rumors that Isaiah Bradley was going to be in this show, but people were talking about it was confirmed, and I was like, I don't know, you guys have confirmed a lot of stuff that didn't end up happening. Let's wait and see if it ends up happening. And then the dude just pops up, and I was so shocked about it. It wasn't until halfway through the scene that I was like, oh my god, they are actually doing this. It still feels like they could get a little more in-depth, but again, we're only halfway through the season. Who knows what's going to happen? Although I will get into the fact that this is halfway through the season, I'm like, okay, we are now at that turning point where if you're going to make this show about this, now's the time that you gotta start making it about this. Especially when it comes to Sam's character. Because episode 3 was definitely the Bucky show, which makes sense. He's doing with Zemo in here. The guy who mind controlled him in Civil War. Yeah, it has to focus on Bucky. It makes absolute sense that this is the Winter Soldier part of the Falcon and Winter Soldier stuff. However, I feel like the big overall theme of this show is supposed to be about Falcon realizing he needs to be Captain America, him having to take the shield back. It feels like that is what all this is leading up to. And I feel like so far, Falcon has not yet had a big enough emotional journey. Well, okay, as I said, we're halfway through the season, so of course he wouldn't have had the big enough journey yet. But it feels like they haven't started setting up enough, dominoes to start knocking them down the final couple episodes. But there is still time. Yeah. And they have set some things up. And the Isaiah Bradley one is great. And then in this episode, even though it is mostly the Winter Soldier show, they do stop at that point in which Sam talks about learning about Isaiah. He talks about all the other things they've seen. And he's talking about, like, yeah, maybe I should take the shield back and then destroy the thing because that thing has a rough legacy behind it. And I feel like that is kind of what the big metaphor of this entire show is supposed to be, is that, you know, Captain America, big, bright, shining, I represent the best in all of us kind of character, and Sam is kind of thinking about, yeah, man, America's kind of got problems, and we've got a dark history. I feel like that's what this show is supposed to be about. Like, yeah, man, Captain America means a lot of things to different people. America means a lot of things to different people because everybody has a different backstory with America.
It's like Zemo said it best, like, Captain America is a person, but when you, like, start to treat him like an idol, you start to, like, no longer see his flaws and everything like that. So,
yeah, which again, I mean, like, take the captain part out of that.
Yeah, America, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I feel like this show is definitely trying to make some big messages in there, and I applaud them for that. At the end of the first episode, I was like, I'm afraid they're not going to get as far as they need to in here. Like, you know, you're actually making some good headway on here, so I got to give you some credit on that. I'm really impressed with how far you're willing to get in some of this stuff. I mean, heck, in that second episode, when they, like, have Isaiah Bradley talk about, like, all the stuff that he went through, I was really impressed with that. Even though they didn't get into too many specifics, I was like, all right, yeah, like, you've laid out enough stuff that everybody can connect the dots on their own. And then at the end, just in case you guys didn't quite get, a cop car pulls up out of nowhere after Sam gets this bombshell dropped down that there was a black Captain America who had the U.S. government do all kinds of terrible shit to him. A cop car pulls up out of nowhere and just decides that he's going to, like, arrest Sam out of nowhere. And what I love about that scene is that as soon as the cop realizes, oh, you're Falcon. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. On that exact moment, like on that beat, another cop car pulls up, implying that that cop called for backup just at the mere sight of this guy walking down the street. I was like, that's really, yeah. Like, if you want to come in here and, like, really make the statement about, like, discrimination in America, it's like, didn't do too bad of a job there. And so, yeah, I am more impressed with what we've seen so far in that second episode. Didn't get a lot of it in the third episode, but again, that's because it was the Bucky episode. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I figure, like, the second episode was like, all right, these are the messages we want to get across. And then the third episode is like, all right, time.
But we gotta deal with Zemo first.
Yeah, it's like, all right, time for a break from all the seriousness, time for some action. So it's like,
yeah, if you were going to have a thing, like, listen, if we were going to actually explain the plot of, like, the Power Broker and of, like, the Flag Smashers and all that stuff going on, we need an episode of Zemo taking you to Madripoor. Which, is that the first time Madripoor has been mentioned within the MCU? I feel almost like it's been mentioned somewhere else before, but this is the first time that I really remember, like, oh yeah, no, wait. I think Madripoor was where Clint was, like, fighting those guys in, when they found him in Endgame after all those years, and he was, like, in the Ronin costume. Was it? Maybe it was, but this is the first time that, like, I really, like, perked up and went, Madripoor? Oh, shoot, and this is the first time that we actually, like, explored Madripoor. Which, for anybody who doesn't know, Madripoor, even though it's part of the Marvel universe, so it's probably owned by all the Marvel stuff, it is an X-Men location. Like, it is 75 to 80% X-Men location. So I was like, oh, shoot. That's for, oh, okay. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not about to get all Mephisto Quicksilver on you guys. I mean, like, that means they're going to introduce, they're going to introduce the X-Men here.
I was going to make a joke about how Agnes, like, stopped by Madripoor to, like, pick a Quicksilver for, like, little gag.
That's where he originally came from?
Yeah.
That's where Ralph came from?
Yeah, that's where Ralph came from.
But yeah, it's like, oh shit, okay, you guys are dribbling this in there, but you're laying the groundwork. Okay, all right, not bad. Yeah, so I'm enjoying seeing that stuff in there. Let's see. So, in this episode, in episode 3, is the Zemo show, as I said, and I really dig that in Civil War, Zemo was, he was the villain of the whole thing because he destroyed the Avengers. But, I mean, he destroyed the Avengers because he was like, listen, I'm not a villain. I just think that having big, super-powered people running around blowing shit up is a bad idea. I'm like, okay, yeah. You can kind of understand. And I really dig that in this episode. He's like, all right, yeah, listen, I'm not here to start any trouble. I want what you want. You want to get rid of the super soldiers. That's my entire MO is getting rid of super soldiers. I really kind of dig the way that they all relate. Also, I really dig Sharon Carter coming back in this episode because she came back and I want to know if she survived the blip. Like, I want to know if she didn't, like, vanish with everyone else. Because you see how much she has changed in this time. It's like, that could be explained by a 5-year time skip. Yeah, like, she is a criminal now who is selling, like, stolen goods. She is, like, a kingpin in Madripoor, which is stunning to see that they did that with that character. And I like this idea that also kind of ties into the overall theme of this entire show, which is the dark side of America. America's like, dirty secrets. So you got Sharon Carter, who was Captain America's girlfriend, and she was the one who was standing up for all the people in Winter Soldier, and she was the one who was fighting back against Hydra in that, and now she is like a drug kingpin. And like, oh wow, okay. Whew. Wow, boy, how time changes things. Yeah, I kind of dug that like, this show, a lot of it is about like, hey, taking the big shining icons that you thought were so great, and as Zemo said, like, yeah, they're people. They're not, they're not things to be put up on.
They're not symbols.
They're not symbols, yeah. And like, people can be messed up. Bad things can happen to people. They can change. There can be like those dark sides to people that you don't see. I really enjoy that. So yeah, Sam definitely, even though this was not his episode, they are still laying the groundwork for like his decision about what to do about Captain America. I just feel like, okay, we are now halfway through the show. We have 3 more episodes. Now you need to make that the focus point of the rest of the series. That needs to be what we do. Like, you've set everything up. Time for like the rest of the show to be like Sam doing some soul searching. Not saying that like not saying that we got 1 Bucky episode. Now we need 3 Sam episodes after this. No. You can still definitely have both of them sharing equal screen time, but that needs to be the thing that is going through Sam's mind throughout the rest of this. That needs to be his character arc throughout the rest of this. Because I swear to you, if the big payoff at the end of all this isn't that Sam becomes Captain America, I'll be pissed. I'm not even gonna pretend. I know that when we talked about WandaVision, I said, okay, there's a couple of things that could ruin this for me. If like it turns out that it's this, if it's this happens, if that doesn't happen, yeah, this might be ruined. And then when we got to the final episode, I didn't really like that final episode, but I did walk away going, it didn't ruin the show. Not at all. No, not at all. All that stuff that I said, like, if you don't do this, then I'll be upset. I was a little disappointed, but I was not upset because the rest of it was so darn good, and the stuff that you did decide to do was so good. I was totally fine with that. I'm putting my foot down on this. If Sam does not become Captain America at the end of all this, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be mad at the end of all this. Speaking of that, we should probably talk about the new Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned this in our first episode, but it's John Walker, who in the comics is known as U.S. Agent, and he's kind of the asshole Captain America. People refer to him as MAGA Cap. He is essentially like right-wing, shut-up SJW's Captain America. Mm-hmm. So he's the asshole Captain America. And when he first gets introduced in that second episode, and you see him there in the locker, and he is looking at like all of his past, and he's talking to his girlfriend, and then they're like laying out like, okay, you did all these amazing things, you earned all these awards, and then you see him with the shield practicing with it. It's like, oh shoot, are you gonna make me like U.S. Agent? Don't make me like U.S. Agent. Don't do that. I don't want to like U.S. Agent. But then as that second episode goes along, he slowly, like, the power slowly corrupts him a little bit more and starts going to his head. And, like, you can tell also, like, he just isn't aware of what an asshole he's being. Like, when he gets up there, he's like, yeah, I never met Steve Rogers, but he was like a brother to me. And then you see Bucky watching him say that. It's like, you mother... But then, like, later on, like, you see him, like, after they stop the super soldiers and they're in the van and they're asking Sam and Bucky to join him, and they're like, nope, not gonna join you. It's like, well, now you guys, like, listen, I know you don't like that he exists, but he's being a nice guy right now. But then they get in the van with him and they're having a conversation. Like, you can slowly see the bits of him being an asshole coming out. Like, I can't remember the statement that he makes, but he basically, like, is talking about people leading rebellions and such. And Sam has that line about, like, that's what the people who have the resources always say, which... That was actually a good line, and it made me think about in that first episode when Sam had that line about normally whenever things get bad for someone, they get worse for someone else, and it's like, that's such a vague line, and also like the line that War Machine had with him of, yeah, man, it's a new day. I was like, want to elaborate on that? Like, you want to talk about just vague statements that you're afraid to go into any further about, and they don't really mean anything. It's a new day. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. That's just one of those like that feels like maybe it means something. That line from Sam about like that's what the people who have the resources always say is like, oh yeah, that actually means something. That's actually okay. Oh, okay, all right, yeah. That's like, again, it's kind of a vague statement you can apply to a lot of things, but it's clear what he's talking about. It's like, okay, not bad. But then as the show goes along, you see that moment of U.S. Agent coming to bail Bucky out, and he comes in, and he's just signing autographs, like, hey, everybody's like, yeah, I love the fact that, like, I love how much everybody loves him. And the fact that he doesn't have, like, any kind of a sense of, like, I didn't earn this, like, I haven't lived up to the shield yet. Like, no, in his mind, like, everybody likes me being Captain America. I'm Captain America right now. And if anybody doesn't like him being Captain America, it's like, well, what is wrong with you guys? Yeah, I am loving just like this place of privilege that he is coming from. Like, of course I deserve to be Captain America. Yeah, I really am enjoying like where he's coming from in there, like how they're kind of structuring this, like I want to reuse the word, but like almost this sense of privilege that he has. I really enjoy how they're building that up. And then in the third episode, we don't get a lot of him in there, but in the third episode, when he breaks down that door, and again, you want to talk about the show using metaphors, like the way that the government rolls up on these people and just breaks in there and starts clearing them out. It kind of felt to me like they were trying to like make them feel like ice almost. Like that's kind of what it felt like they were trying to make them feel like in there when they were just rolling in and in this big unmarked van, just arresting people who hadn't even really done anything. And you got John Walker in there. Just now he is in full-blown asshole because it's like the first guy we've seen in here who didn't treat him with respect, and the words out of his mouth are, don't you know who I am? Yeah, it is totally the don't you know who my father is approach almost. Yeah, I really am enjoying what they're doing with him. I like that they kind of set up for me to like him in the beginning. And that makes it such a great, like, left hook in there. Just a great 1-2 punch. Of, like, okay, all right, it's fine. No. Listen, take some time, get to know the new Captain America. Okay, you got to know him. Isn't he an asshole? Yeah, I thought it was great. Yeah, we're kind of, wow, it's weird to me that we're covering 2 episodes in here and we're running through it so much quicker than we did when we just tried to talk about episode 2 last week.
I think it's because, like, we were able to, like,
we've had time to think about it.
Yeah, time to think about it.
Yeah, maybe we should actually do that. Maybe this whole idea of talking about something as soon as I see it isn't the best approach.
Instead of this week in Marvel, it's like these 2 weeks in Marvel.
Yeah, that's not bad. See you guys in 3 weeks. But I've mostly been talking. How have you been feeling? Because I've been applying a lot of stuff from the comics in here, and I've been saying like, yeah, I know this from the comics. I know how that guy acts in the comics. You don't read the comics, so how's your take on all this so far? How have you been enjoying the show?
I've been enjoying it. I guess because I don't know the characters that well. I'm new to them, so I kind of have to like get used to who they are and everything. Mm-hmm. But it's not that bad. Like I pretty much like understand what's going on and everything. So
yeah, I don't think anybody in here so far is really all that fan baity, I guess, is the best term for it. And nobody in here so far is just like, oh, it's that guy. We don't need anything else. It's just like, oh, he just popped up. But if you're a real fan, then you know the real backstory. It's like, no. Everybody I feel like is getting mostly a decent amount of time in here. I feel like Isaiah, we need more of him in here.
I feel like he's going to make a comeback in
He
like a
definitely
later
needs to be in
episode.
here more, and we need more information. I really would love to see him get his own show. I would love for that to be a future Marvel show. Just like the story of him coming around. Which, for anybody who doesn't know who Asai Bradley is, he is a guy, which I do need to kind of go into this explanation because I know that there will be arguing in the comments down below on this. Because there are basically two origin stories to him. Because originally he was created for this miniseries that was going to be out of continuity. And it was going to say, yeah, you know the super soldier serum? The first person they were going to test that on in the 1940s wasn't going to be some blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy. No, this was the 1940s. They would have gotten a bunch of black guys and tried that on. And the comic that came out in, it was the story of all these black soldiers who had the experimental super soldier serum tested on them. We've been talking a lot today, so my throat is wrecked. And that was what the story was going to be on, is that basically he was Captain America before Captain America. But then the hype around the book was so big and everybody was applying the book so much that Marvel said, well, what if we did make it canon? But then he can't be the first Captain America because then that goes against other things in our continuity. We can't really do that. So then they changed it like kind of almost halfway through the story, where now rather than him being the one that the first version of the super soldier serum was tested on, Steve Rogers still got the first super soldier serum. He was still the first Captain America, but then they tried to recreate the super soldier serum, and that's what he got tested with. So that's because that's the two things. Half the people out there think that he was the first Captain America. Half the people out there think that he was the second Captain America. So you're both right. He was supposed to be the first Captain America. Then they made the story canon, and they had to make him the second Captain America. So there you go. All right. So yeah, like I said, I would love to see more info on him. I would love to get more of his backstory, especially after, like, man, when you set up the fact that there came a moment in which he fought Bucky and ripped off half of his arm. You can't not show me that fight now. I want to see that happen. So yeah, I would love to see him get more of a show. Zemo, I would love a little bit more backstory on Zemo, given I feel like he's still being very mysterious and very honest, which is kind of the point.
Yeah.
It's kind of the point. I've seen so many people saying, like, I can't believe that Zemo is making really good points, and I'm actually really liking Zemo. I'm like, that's kind of, like, that's his job. His job is to be the master manipulator, and you're all falling for it right now. But yeah, I would love to get a little bit more backstory, especially after there comes that moment when he actually puts on the mask. That was such a corny moment. That was solely there just because, like, yeah, it's from the comics, everybody. And, like, I'm fine with some of the it's from the comics, everybody. But when you stop the whole thing, just goes like, yeah, from the comics. I'm like, no, nah. And yeah, that was kind of cheap. And it's like, I really do wish there had been, like, some kind of explanation, because we know that aside from just being a baron and being wealthy, he was also a soldier. And I kept thinking I would love for them to have, like, a moment where they explain his mask, because you know a lot of, like, undercover soldiers, a lot of like wetwork soldiers and such. They do wear, like, those ski masks when they're on missions. And I would love, like, some kind of an explanation of, like, yeah, like, this is what we wore when we were going deep undercover. I had dyed purple because that's the color of royalty, or something like that, because he is a baron. I would love, like, some kind of an explanation like that. There's no explanation for that mask. He just decides to slip it on one moment, and, like, why do you even have that thing? Why is that even a thing? Yeah, like, you gotta give me, like, some backstory or something on it. But aside from that, I do really like him. I do really like the way that, like, you can tell, like, even though he feels like he's agreeing with Bucky and Sam, he's still, like, just slowly twisting that knife into both of them. Like, there came that moment in which Sam was arguing with Bucky about, oh God, who was it? Who was the musician? Marvin Gaye?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was arguing with him about that. Because, like, yeah, Steve adored Marvin Gaye. He was like, I like Marvin Gaye. I just don't love Marvin Gaye. And then he got Baron Zemo coming in here and goes like, oh, yeah, but the brilliance of Trouble Man is this. And he's talking about that. And, like, Sam has to do, like, that double take. And he's like, am I about to agree with Baron Zemo?
Like, he's out of line, but he's right.
Yeah, I love that line. And I did enjoy that because you can tell it's like, Baron Baron Zemo might not even like give a shit about Marvin Gaye. He just knows that this is gonna get the two of them to fight. Yeah, I love that in there. Yeah, you can just tell like Zemo is just, even though he's working with them, he is totally he is totally on the side of like making them like get at each other's throats.
Like literally a chaotic neutral.
He does not know how to not cause a civil war. That's his entire thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm the guy that makes people hate each other. Yeah, so I'm enjoying that so far. Anything else to talk about in the second or third episode? I do kind of like that they also brought Battlestar in here. It's crazy to me how many things have been introduced in here. It's like, okay, so we got Falcon and Winter Soldier, but then we also got Sharon Carter and Baron Zemo and the Power Broker and U.S. Agent and Battlestar. It's like, holy cow, how many things are you going to put in here? And the Flag Smashers. The Flag Smashers, I wish we had a little bit more on them. I don't know. I'm still not really I wasn't really feeling the Flag Smashers all that much. Like, I think it's a good group to introduce right now, and I think how they're trying to tie that into like the blip and everything. But man, Zemo comes in for one episode and is like, nobody even gives a crap about that. Nobody cares about that. And it's a shame because I feel like they're trying to say a lot of stuff with the Flag Smashers in there. But yeah, they haven't done it for me just yet. But yeah, really enjoying this show. A lot of the problems I had with that first episode, they were answered in that second episode. Didn't get a lot more than the third episode, but I do think that we have now set up stuff for the future episodes, and that's what I want to see. I want to see in the future episodes, like, okay, Sam now has his things to think about. We gotta see Sam actually thinking about these things. We actually have to see that playing out in his head. So yeah, also I really like that Bucky is using Cap's old book. Like the book that Cap used to write down all the things they missed out on while he was frozen, Bucky is using to write down all the things that he did while he was also semi-frozen. Yeah, I think that's a good small detail. Anything else you want to add?
No, not really.
Good, because my throat is wrecked. I have nothing else I can possibly say. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next week. We'll talk about episode 4. Unless there's also audio problems. Bye, everybody.
Bye.